along with the slides and resources after this call. We are going to have a Q&A session right at the end. So we'll go through the content, get through it. So just note down any questions that you have and feel free to already put them in that Q&A little box that you will see at the bottom of your screen. Everybody's microphones are muted right now, but if you do want to speak and ask us a question directly in the Q&A session, you can always raise your hand or request permission to speak, and we'll be able to unmute you and give you that permission to ask your question live. Taking us through the content today is myself, Naseen Watson. I work for ChallengeWorks, one of the delivery partners in this program, and I have my amazing colleague Dina Ibrahim with me today as well, also from ChallengeWorks, and we'll be delivering this content with you along with a few partners who'll be there coming in during the Q&A session. So it's a bit of a shorter webinar structure today. We'll just go through very briefly what the Sustainable Cities Challenge Detroit is, give you a bit of a basic overview or refresher, and then we'll have a much longer Q&A session to really enable you to ask all of your questions. So I'll just kick off. What is the Sustainable Cities Challenge Detroit? And it's worth noting that the Sustainable Cities Challenge as a whole is made up of 3 separate city-based challenges. So the challenge as a whole aims to harness innovation to improve safe, sustainable, equitable mobility. And we are doing that through these 3 city-based challenges. Of course, today we are talking about Detroit, which is all about transforming freight and reducing fossil fuel use and cutting costs on freight operations in Eastern Market and Detroit. And we'll go through that in a bit more detail. But if you are interested in the Venice or Varanasi challenges, you can go to our website and take a look and read through those. So Venice is all about embracing sustainable mobility and changing behavior to increase the use and adoption of low to zero modes of transport. And Varanasi is about innovating crowd flow and using data-driven solutions to make the crowded areas of Kashi and Varanasi safer and more accessible. So do go check those out if you're interested, and we have additional webinars on those. But let's get into why Detroit. Why are we having a challenge in Eastern Market? And it's worth noting that Detroit is known worldwide as Motor City. So it has over 100 years of renowned innovation and transportation. So Detroit is not new to this type of innovation. And it's definitely something that's within the scope of the city as well, a focus that they look at. But Eastern Market in Detroit, in particular, is one of the largest historic public markets district in the US. So it's really this hub for food production, processing, packaging, distribution, and has over $360 million in wholesale food sales, and it exports nearly double that amount. So it's a really important economic and food production hub. It has over 2 million visitors annually. It's located near 2 international airports, 3 different border crossings, major highways. So it has a lot of opportunity for thinking about freight and goods that are coming in and leaving the market. And just through all of its activities, it feeds millions of people. So it's an incredibly important part of Detroit, an incredibly important area to look at if you are thinking about freight in Detroit. There also are opportunities for expansion. So Eastern Market does have this framework plan that you can go online and check out. And when we send these slides with you, there's a link in here and you can go and read through their plans. But they are thinking about doing things like including green buffer zones, doubling the market footprint, increasing its size and its traffic over the next 20 to 30 years. So now is really a great opportunity to come in and start thinking about innovating in Eastern Market. So all of this to say that this is an incredibly important part of Detroit, and there are tons of opportunities when you're thinking about freight, as well as opportunities for future expansion. So what is the problem exactly that we are trying to address through this challenge? So Eastern Market, as I mentioned, is continuing to expand, and harmonizing that food production along with clean freight initiatives has been a bit of a challenge, in particular addressing these environmental pressures, while also acknowledging that these are businesses. It's a very competitive market. So how can they engage in clean freight technologies or innovations while maintaining a healthy profit margin and not negatively impacting their businesses. And with that in mind, we're looking for solutions to add value to that freight ecosystem without significantly increasing these costs. So any solution that would come in needs to have that dual element of being able to reduce greenhouse gas emissions or reduce fossil fuel use in freight, but also ensure that this isn't being done at a cost or an increase in cost to the freight operations. And in fact, being able to reduce those costs would be an incredibly useful part of this challenge. And also needs to be something that's easily adopted by the freight operators and Eastern markets. So it needs to be designed for them and with them because it is this very particular ecosystem and they have the different needs that need to be taken into account. So considering all that, the problem, the different elements that you need to think about, we've put together a call to action for innovators. And this articulates what we're looking for in a very summarized way from innovators, but without us really predetermining what the outcomes should be. And because it's such an important part of the challenge, I'm actually just going to read out this challenge statement. So we're looking for innovators to demonstrate solutions that reduce fossil fuel use and cut costs of freight operations in Eastern markets. The solutions should address one or more of the following. So you could look at reducing idling time, reducing partial loads or empty miles, reducing the reliance on fossil fuel for cold chain logistics and freight management, or reducing implementation costs and barriers to adopting clean freight technologies. So you should consider at least one of the following when you're considering your solution. Let's take a quick look at the timeline and some of the practicalities behind the challenge. So as you know, we're already opening for entries, and that entry deadline is coming up on the 12th of September. So do keep that in mind. We'll then go through a selection process. We'll be selecting 10 semi-finalists who will then go on to develop and demonstrate their solutions and build relationships with the various stakeholders. The 10 semi-finalists will be expected to be able to come to Detroit on, we have this academy from the 9th to 12th of December. So do keep that in mind. Keep those dates in your diary if you are entering, just in case you're selected. Once the semi-finalists are selected, they will receive a grant of around $50,000 US. Then have around 20 weeks or so to develop their solutions before we select 5 finalists. So there will be a second submission stage where you'll be expected to demonstrate the impact so far, how you've adapted your solution to the context of Detroit. After that second review process or judging process, we'll be selecting those 5 finalists who will receive a grant of $130,000 US each, and then go on to really demonstrating impact and refining their solutions further before we select up to 3 winners, and there will be a pot of $1.5 million to be shared amongst those 3 winners. It's worth noting that all of the grant funding, including that 1.5 million winning grant, does need to be used for your solution within Detroit and Eastern market. So even that winning amount, you will need to consider how you're going to carry on and implement your solution in Eastern market. And just a reminder about that academy from the 9th to 12th of December. This is a competition, and we do have an eligibility criteria that mentions, that lays out who can actually enter this challenge. So I'll just run through it quickly, but all of this is in the entrant handbook. You can go download that, take a look, or read these slides afterwards and let us know if you have any questions. So your solution must be tailored specifically for and implemented within the city of Detroit. Entrants can be a single organization, but you can also enter as a consortia or a partnership. If you are a consortia, you do need to nominate a lead organization, and that will be the organization that receives funding and contracts with the Toyota Mobility Foundation. So just keep that in mind. Entrants must be a legally established or incorporated organization in order to enter, so you can't enter as an individual. The challenge is open to innovators worldwide, but it will be run in English, and you do need to make your entries in English. and successful entrants must be willing and able to travel to Detroit, because there is that expectation of this on-the-ground presence. And just to note that you can use the grant funding that is provided for your travel costs. And of course, if there is any intellectual property associated with your entry, you must either own it or have the permission to use that. We're going to take a quick look at the judging criteria, just an overview. Again, if you go into the entrant handbook and other materials, you can find a bit more information about exactly what we're looking for. But in summary, this criteria is going to be used by the judges and assessors to evaluate your submissions or your entries. And so this is how we're defining what good looks like. And like I said, you can definitely go and take a deeper look. But in summary, there are 6 criteria. The first one is, of course, the reduction in fossil fuel use, as you could probably tell from the challenge statement. Innovation in Eastern market, like what degree of improvement are you bringing and how is it different from what's already going on in Eastern market? Is there the potential for adoption by the businesses? So are you, in your entry, do you have plans for how you're going to engage with the users, the stakeholders, understand their needs, their expectations, and their circumstances? We also have technology maturity. So what stage of planning and development are you right now? And how are you going to get from your current state to a state where you're actually having impact and demonstrating impact? So having that roadmap laid out that's reasonable and feasible. Potential to scale. So it's not just about creating something within the lifetime of the challenge, but considering that long-term market viability beyond the lifespan of the challenge, either within Eastern market or even beyond. Is this something that could be applied to other contexts, other cities, or other similar markets or hubs? And finally, of course, you need to be able to deliver your solution. You need to have the skills, the partnerships to be able to deliver. And if you don't have that right now, do you have a reasonable plan to gain those skills or partnerships once you're selected? And just to note, for the entry phase, we do understand that most of you probably will have not been to the Eastern market yet, or if you have, you've just maybe looked around, you don't have many relationships right now. You probably have a lot of assumptions that you haven't verified yet. And in the entry stage, please do just lay out what your assumptions are, lay out the gaps in knowledge that you have and how you anticipate going about filling it. So it's not about having all the information right now. It's about thinking through how you might begin to meet this criteria if you are selected. And I'm just going to hand over to my colleague Dina to take us through how to enter. I know we provided you with a lot of information really quickly, but all of this is being recorded in addition to past webinars that you can watch. And we have all this material online as well. So you can always go back and review it if there's anything that we went over a bit too quickly. But I'll hand over to Dina.
Okay, thank you, Nassine, for the very interesting beginning. Okay, so entering the challenge. First of all, we need to remember the date. The 12th of September is a Thursday, 12 p.m. EDT, Eastern Daylight Time. And before submitting, as Nassine just showed us the challenge statement, she showed us the judging criteria, the eligibility criteria. We strongly suggest that I recommend that you guys go through the challenge terms and conditions, the privacy policy, the eligibility criteria, the challenge statement, and the judging criteria. Go through them before you submit your entry. And if you have any questions, you can email us or book one-to-one sessions, and one of the team and the delivery team can speak to you and answer all your questions. When you go to the website, okay, next slide. Yeah, it's okay. When you go to our website, you will be directed to our online platform that you can submit through it. It's called Submittable. So you can click the Enter Now button, and then it will take you to the first form that you need to fill, which is the eligibility form, the eligibility criteria form. Then you have to fill this form to be eligible for this challenge, as Nassine showed us a few slides before. And as we said, we have to go and read the eligibility criteria very carefully. Afterwards, you will be directed, after the eligibility form, you will be directed to the entry form. In this entry form, it has 4 parts. You will be assessed just against one part of it. So the first part is your details. You will have to enter the name of your organization, the type of organization, just the introductory details about you as an innovator. This part you will not be scored or assessed against. The second part will be the most important part, which is your solution. You have to give, as you can see, there are multiple paragraphs that you have to fill, which is the solution title, describe your title in a few words, and then in the second one, in 200 words, you have to give us the summary of your solution. How is it going to meet all the eligibility criteria and all the judging criteria? And then there is an optional part that you can upload the video speaking or talking or describing your solution, but just keep in mind that the video is not a substitute for filling the other parts. You have to fill the other parts and the video is optional. This part is the most important one, this one that you will be assessed against. The third part is additional information. This part, when you fill it, it will help us understand your solution more, and it will help us also in our due diligence checks and impact and reporting. So this part, if you have other additional information that you feel like you couldn't just provide in the previous part, you can put it here. You will not be assessed against this part. Don't be worried. And the third part is the declaration. You have to confirm that all the information that you have submitted are true and correct to the best of your knowledge, and then you can submit. We also strongly recommend that you keep an offline version of your submission, because it's the internet, you never know what happens, and you can get lost. So and submittable allows you to have a draft, so you can have a draft and then fix it or edit it as you go along. But just keep in mind that you have to submit it on the 12th of September. Okay? Yeah, it's okay. So as we keep on mentioning the contact information and internet support, so you have our emails. It's the info@sustainabletodaychallenge.org. So if you have any questions, email us there. We try our best to answer all your questions within 2 days, and if we don't have the answers for you, we'll direct it either towards the city of Detroit or TMF. Just keep in mind that you cannot reach the city of Detroit or Eastern Market directly at this stage. They will not be able to help you or respond to you. So if you have any questions, just direct it to us in ChallengeWorks. And you can also book one-to-one sessions with us for like 15 minutes, and then we can answer all the questions you have. Okay. Another information that the latest we can answer your question is September the 4th. After that, we will not be really able to help you or respond to you in time. So please have your questions ready and answered before that. Okay. So now we will go into our Q&A. You can pop your questions in the Q&A section, as you can see in the Zoom, or raise your hand and we will unmute you to ask, so you can ask your questions and we will answer it. So, with us we have the amazing Mr. Pence from the city of Detroit. He's here to answer all questions. If you have any questions, and we can direct it towards him. Okay, we're waiting for your questions.
We have a question about, is it possible to enter multiple challenges, or should I just enter one challenge alone? So I guess that's referring to the Venice or SCC Detroit challenges. And just to say that, yes, you can enter multiple challenges. However, do keep in mind that we might not select you for all 3 challenges, just depends on your capacity as a team. So you might just be selected for one specific challenge just to manage your expectations. You can also make multiple entries to each of the challenges. So you can make multiple entries to the Sustainable Cities Challenge Detroit, and we probably just select one of those particular submissions. But as Dina said, do keep those questions coming in.
Okay, we do have one from an anonymous. Is the City of Detroit's transportation department involved in the challenge? We would need to coordinate our tech with the department. I think that goes to you, Vince.
Yes. What's that? Oh, the mic's already on? Okay.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes. The City of Detroit is a partner in the challenge, and so our Department of Transportation would be an agency that the Office of Mobility Innovation would help you interface with.
Thank you, Vince. Any more questions? Take the chance that we have Vince with us today. Any questions related to Extra Market, to Detroit? We got another one. Is there a forum or online discussion space for insurance that may be looking to partner or exchange ideas? Yassine?
Yeah. So right now we don't have any kind of forum or online space. However, if you do want to be put in touch with other potential entrants, if you just send us an email after this to the email address that we had on the slides, and that I think we put in the chat, we'll be able to take note of your name, your organization, your contacts, and then if there's anybody else who'd like to be put into contact with other organizations that are interested, we can also always make that connection. But just because of data protection regulations and laws, we can't really share the information that we have publicly. So we do need to get everybody's permission if anybody does want to be put in touch with anybody else.
Yeah. Thank you, Yassine. Okay, another question. Can additional documents be uploaded as part of the submission, or do you want to keep the submissions to the forms and video?
I can take that as well. So the submission does need to be kept to the form and the video. So please don't attach any documents or insert any external links into the form, because there's no guarantee that the judges will go and click a link in an entry form and go and read through that. So do try and keep everything within the video and the form.
But again, you will have a chance as the challenge progresses to showcase your solution or design. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So in the following stages, when you are working on your solution, the submissions will be able to be a lot more comprehensive, not just a simple form that you fill out. And of course, you'll have engagement with the challenge team and various assessment processes that we'll go through. So yes, in the other stages, there'll definitely be more opportunity to showcase your challenge, your solution.
Thank you, Yassine. And if you have any questions that you feel that might have been answered before, you can go to the FAQs part in our website, and then you will find the most repeated questions. Okay, can one-on-one calls still be scheduled? Yes, you can schedule one-on-one calls, and then one of our teams will respond to you and speak to you for around 15 minutes to answer all your questions. So the link, Marie has shared it in the chat. And if you still finding it hard to book on one-on-one, you can always email us and we will do that. Someone raised their hand. Sorry, let's check. Yeah, sorry, allowed to talk. Hello.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Hi.
Yeah, hi. I had a quick question about the form and additional information. So is the additional information section where we can attach any attachments? Is that the concept, or is it all still text that we are submitting, or are we allowed to kind of send in, other photos or schematics or, yeah.
So the additional information is still just text. In particular, the only section of the entry form that's being assessed is the Your Solution section. The additional information section we use more for our impact and due diligence processes. So that's probably not going to be of interest to assessors and judges. And when you go into the form and take a look, you will see that it's quite like practical questions about like your technology readiness and things that will allow us to get an overview of the cohort and who's entering. In terms of any schematics or any other information that you want to provide, you can definitely include images of those in the video to have that like visual element. So if there's anything that's visual that you can't fit into a written format, definitely encourage you to fit that into your video. And that video doesn't need to be highly produced. It can just be you have a slide deck and you're on Zoom or another video conferencing platform and just record yourself as you speak through your presentation. So it doesn't need to be like a highly polished production that you're putting together for this. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? We're here for you. We're here to answer questions, get you ready to submit your entries.
I see another question. Oh, wait, actually, we can take the one that's just come in.
Okay, any daytime is better to visit the Eastern market to observe logistics and freight. Vince, you're the best person for this.
Yeah, so the Eastern market does function every day. Different markets are active at different times, and so you'll see if you go and observe. And again, the way we encourage you to do it at this point, if you are around and you can take a look at it, we do encourage you to not go and directly interface with the different vendors or freight operators at the moment, because while we are working with them and building the relationships in order to partner with innovators at some point, it's not, none of that is established, and there's going to be a nuance as to which operators are going to be more willing to partner with which innovators. And so we do encourage everyone to sort of let that be for the second stage when everyone has an opportunity to take a look at what's being proposed. We think that probably everyone will end up with more participants if we don't pester them at an early stage, and we sort of get them all lined up. That being said, if you are at or near the market, or if you're in the area and you're familiar with the Saturday market, Saturday day from early morning until about 3 is the public market with a lot of vendors that come in. But every day there are different markets that take place, including, for example, the wholesale produce market that goes from midnight until 6 a.m. Every day. And so and then there's other operations, freight operations that are happening nearby with different providers and different, there's the meat markets, there are different providers in the area. The point being, there's activity almost all the time. Big pushes will happen earlier, overnight and earlier in the mornings on weekdays, and then you'll have the public markets on Saturday. I would encourage anyone that is looking for major freight operations. The Saturday market tends to be focused towards the individual consumers, whereas the daily markets tend to be the ones that we're focusing on, with freight operations coming in, Class 8 vehicles coming into one side of freight distribution hubs, and then mid to medium duty to different scale vehicles coming in the other side. So freight to freight almost on a daily basis, and then freight to consumer on the Saturday and Sunday markets.
Thank you, Vince. Okay, we have Anne Doubling with a raised hand. Hi.
Oh, hi. I didn't mean to,
Raise your hand.
can you hear me?
Yeah. Hi.
Sure. So, I guess I had two questions. One was, my solution is to help identify if there's enough enough power coming to the site in order to, if you're putting if you're trying to lower the fossil fuel, to make sure that there is enough energy coming to the site. It doesn't, because I look at sort of the overall carbon footprint, and I'm trying to figure out how to, I'm concerned that I don't exactly fit easily into any of the verticals, but I know that we've worked with others, entities like this, and I feel like it's a requirement, because you can set up the perfect solution, but then if there isn't enough sustainable energy coming to the site, then you can be then you'll come up short anyway. And I'm just trying to figure out how best to fit into this, how best to respond.
Okay, thank you, Anne.
I can take a stab at that, and maybe if there's others that want to give it a shot. But my initial thought is that there's at least one of the criteria is looking at the at fiscal models that make adoption of alternative technologies more viable. Again, without getting prescriptive, I think you're right. There's generally there's some overlap with what we're proposing. It is probably going to be the nature of your application that you'll want to figure out whether that may require some specific partnerships where you're looking at, doing power assessments, partnered with a particular type of technology that can be available. With the money that's coming in through the Sustainable Cities Challenge, we are not going to be, building out new hydrogen system, distribution system. We're not going to be adding DC fast charging infrastructure beyond what's already there. So it's the nature of where we're at in the market, that I don't want to use the phrase it's a blank slate, but we are at early days. So if your solution helps us get to a more mature step forward, that's great. If your solution is scalable to where it may help indicate how to do a smaller deployment, you should be aware that there isn't a whole lot of EV technology in operation right now. There isn't a whole lot. My understanding is there's zero hydrogen right now. So the point being, I think what you're describing could be useful. I would tend to sort of look at that one section about sort of finding the financial pathway that makes solutions more viable. But I might also consider partnerships that would help pilot a scalable solution. Hope that helps.
Okay. John, Trey, anything? Thank you, Vince. Okay, we got another question. Is there any data on the number of fleet of vehicles and types passing through the Estra Market District on a daily, monthly basis? How many parking spaces are allocated to freight vehicles? Go ahead, Vince.
So a lot of this data will be forthcoming in the as you get through into the process, and it's fair for you to make a series of assumptions going in. The freight operations vary wildly based on the seasonal requirements of the market. So as the crops come in, there's more freight. We will have some of that information for you. We can take it on a market by market basis. At peak times, the produce market that happens, the daily produce market, we could probably give a pretty good estimate of the number of Class 8 vehicles involved. Somewhere under 20 Class 8 vehicles are coming in to the main distribution terminal at Shed 7, and then upwards of 50 medium duty to small scale are coming to the open docks on the other side and taking to various hotels, restaurants, grocery stores in and around the area. So if that gives you some idea, the reality is there are market operators that have fleets of 300. There are market operators that have mom and pop shops that have fleets of 2 and 3 and 10 and 20, anywhere in between. And so we are working, as I've said, in terms of that partnership agreements, partnerships, so that we're pairing people up with the right scale. But at an early stage of submission, we know we don't have that information. Your assumptions will not be held against you.
Thank you, Vince. And again, as Nasseen and Vince said, feel free to make any assumptions you want and build your solutions about the assumptions. And then as you go ahead, we will try to make it as clearer and clearer for you and provide you with the data you need. Another question, does the state of Michigan contemplate any anti-idling regulation, or there penalties against excessive idling?
So from a policy standpoint, I think the reality is that we would actually think there are some books right now that are enforced in the city of Detroit. But the truth is that our strategy in the city of Detroit, in partnership with Eastern Market and with the Sustainable Cities Challenge here, is to work with freight operators who are delivering an essential service. I mean, people have to eat, and every day the food comes in and it gets to where it needs to go. So we are looking to work in partnership together as we move towards that day where the regulatory stick comes into play. So I would say, like anywhere in the United States, it's on the horizon. But our intention here is to be proactive and work with freight operators so that no one is caught off guard and everyone can stay afloat as we make alternative fuel and transitional changes to lower carbon and fossil fuel consumption.
Thank you, Vince. I think the next two questions are around the same thing. Who are the judges? And Nasseen is going to take you through the timeline of that.
Yep. So we are in the process of identifying judges, and we'll be announcing them once we have confirmed everyone who's going to be on that panel. But I can tell you that we are looking for or confirming judges who are from the city of Detroit. There will be representatives from the Toyota Mobility Foundation, looking to secure representatives from Eastern Market as well, so people who understand the context on the ground, in addition to people who have expertise in this area. So it is going to be an expert panel of judges with people who are coming at it from different perspectives. But keep an eye on our website, on our social media. Once we've confirmed them, we will be announcing them, and you can take a look at who exactly that's going to be.
Thank you, Nasseen. Another question is from David. Not part of my solution, but has the Eastern Market investigated solar or any type of on-site energy capture in the past?
So I know there has been some investigation of it. I can't tell you exactly what has been implemented. I'm with the city of Detroit, and we are in partnership with Eastern Market, but we don't have an Eastern Market representative on the call today that might be able to speak to that directly. I know that Eastern Market has historically pushed the city and our community in terms of green solutions and thinking through these type of things. It is a part of the thought leadership of green energy solutions. So while the city does have a very extensive solar program right now, I'm not sure exactly how or if it is currently overlapping with Eastern Market, but I know that that Eastern Market is the Eastern Market leadership has been for the last 20 years leading the city very much in these conversations. So I would not be surprised if there is, and certainly if there isn't something we can point to today, you would find a very friendly space to have those kind of conversations if that was part of your proposal.
Thank you, Vince. Since we have 3 minutes to go, I think this is our last question, unless you have one to give us in the 3 remaining minutes, which is the electrical utility operating in the Eastern Market District, supplying electricity to the businesses operating in the market.
It's Detroit Edison.
Okay, Detroit Edison. I hope that was clear.
DTE Energy, I think is the.
Yeah, okay. And with that, we have exactly 3 minutes to go. So if you have any more questions in those 3 minutes. And I will be sending an email tomorrow with the recording for this webinar, the presentation slide that Naseen and me have just walked you through. I will be sharing also the one-to-one booking sessions link and the entrant handbook. So if you feel like you haven't had time to ask your questions, you can always email us, and then you can go through the webinars again to watch. Okay, in the last 2 minutes, in your earlier answer, could you please repeat the number of medium class vehicles bans? I caught 20 class 8 vehicles.
Yeah, no, those numbers are very rough estimates. So I wouldn't hang anything on it yet. So on one set of docks, out of one shed, which is one of the freight terminals in the market, you have you'll get the class 8 vehicles coming in again at peak season, and then on the other side it's an open dock, so it's vehicles will come in, and again it depends on the time of year. It can be up to 50 is my understanding of different vehicles at different times, but it could be more or less as well, and they're all different scales. So these are the ones that are going to restaurants and grocery stores, and one of the things that we are also aware of is that there's very little current volume and throughput is not measured in terms of how full these vehicles are, or how whether there's duplicative routes. So we measure it based on the throughput of the warehouse itself and the cold storage supply chain. So again, these are assumptions that you'll have to make reasonable calculations on, and we won't hold that against you, but we will, as you get further along in the process, help you narrow that down.
Thank you, Vince. And with that, exactly, we are at the end of today's webinar. Thank you everyone for attending. That was lovely. Again, you will get an email with the recordings and the slides, and always reach out to us if you have any questions. Okay.
Hope everyone applies.
Yeah, we can't wait to see the names now we see in the list appearing in our entries.
We're very eager to see it really.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Okay, thank you everyone.
Thanks all. Bye.
Bye.